All right, everybody. So today's lesson is multiplying decimals by powers of 10. So what I want from you is I want you to watch this video in its entirety, which means just watch the whole thing. Take your time watching it. If you need to pause and practice, you are more than welcome to do so. I actually encourage that. We're going to look at powers of 10 again and review what each product of that power of 10 is, and then we're going to apply it to decimals and what happens to that decimal when you do multiply by power of 10. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get started. And first we're going to get started by reviewing those powers of 10. So we've got 10 to the first power, 10 to the second power, 10 to the third power, 10 to the fourth power, 10 to the fifth power, 10 to the sixth power, so on and so forth. You just need to worry about these six. So we know that 10 to the first is 10. 10 to the second is 100. 10 to the third is 1,000. 10 to the fourth is 10,000. You're probably saying this with me. 10 to the fifth is 100,000. And 10 to the sixth is 1 million. And remember, we can remember this because these exponents tell us how many zeros are in this are in the product. If I want to go a little bit further, this is really 10 times 1. This is 10 times 10. 10 to the third is 10 times 10 times 10, and then so on and so forth for 4, 5, and 6. All right, so just a quick little review there of powers of 10. So let's take a look at this anchor chart. This is just reiterating exactly what we just went through. It lists our exponential form of the powers of 10. It's got the expanded form, and it has the standard form or the value of each power of 10, which is what we just filled out. Remember that 10 is our base number, and that 3, the power of 3, that's our exponent. And an exponent represents how many times a number is multiplied by itself. It doesn't always, your base number doesn't always have to be 10. You'll learn more about that in probably 6th and 7th grade. Right now we're just focused on 10 being our base number. All right? So let's talk about what happens when we have a decimal and we multiply it by a power of 10. Or in this case, you're going to see 100 and 1,000. Then we're going to move into what that would look like using a power of 10. So if we think back to powers of 10, what is the power of 10 of 100? Well, it is 10 to the second power. And what happens is when we multiply by a power of 10, our decimal gets moved to the right 2 places. So 1 and then 2. And we have a little hole here. We have to fill that hole with a digit, and that digit is going to be 0 if there's not any more digits after the decimal. So my answer to 5.2 times 100 is 520. Okay, so all I did was move that decimal 2 places because that's what that exponent is, and that exponent will tell you how many places to the right to move our decimal. So let's look at the second one. 39 thousandths times 1,000. Well, if I look back at my anchor chart, I know that 1,000 is equivalent to 10 to the third power. So once again, I'm going to move my decimal to the right 3 places because our exponent is 3. So when I do that, 1, 2, 3. So 39 thousandths times 1,000 is 39. And then our decimal goes behind. It's very important to put your decimal there because you don't want to forget it. All right. Let's look at these next couple. I want you to pause the video. I want you to think about what your answer will be, and then see if you're correct. So we've got 42 7/10 times 10. Well, I know that the exponential form of 10 is 10 to the first power. This tells me that I'm only moving my decimal to the right 1 place. one place. So I know that my decimal is no longer there. It's now 427, and my decimal's after that last digit, which is 7. So 427 is my answer. Once again, we're going to write the exponential form of 100, which is 10 to the second power. This 2 is going to tell us how many places to the, what is it? To the right. You can sing the Cupid Shuffle if you want. To the right, to the right, to the right, to the right. It's going to be moved 2 places to the right. So 1 place, 2 places. So now my decimal is there. I can get rid of that one. So now I know that my product of 8 and 781 thousandths times 100 is 878 and 1/10. Okay? So I'm going to change things up a little bit on this next slide, and I'm going to give you a multiplication problem using the powers of 10 and a decimal, and I'm going to write the powers of 10 in exponential form, which is just the base number and the exponent. So if I have 0 and 364 thousandths times 10 to the second power, what do you think I'm going to do? Well, this exponent tells us what to do. The exponent's bossy. It tells us what to do. So we're going to move our decimal. Which direction? To the right. 2 places. 1 place, 2 place. So now my decimal is here. And I get a product of 36 and 4/10. I want you to pause the video on this next one, and I want you to try this one on your own. We're going to do 679 thousandths times 10 to the 4th power. Pause the video and see if you can figure out how many places I'm going to move my decimal and what my product of this is going to be. Now that you've unpaused the video, you've attempted this problem. We're now going to move the decimal. How many places? 4, because our exponent tells us how many places to move our decimal to the what direction? To the right. 1, 2, 3. Uh-oh, Mr. Walker, I have no more digits left in my decimal. That's okay. Make a hole, put your decimal here, and remember from our first slide, we fill that hole with a 0. So now, 679 thousandths times 10 to the 4th power is 6,790. And I also remember to place my decimal. What if I change things up a little bit, and I said that I have 5 and 432 thousandths times 10 to the 1st power. What am I going to do? I'm going to look at my exponent. The exponent tells us what to do and how many places to move our decimal to the right. So I'm going to grab my decimal and move it 1 place. So 5 and 432 thousandths times 10 to the 1st power has a product of 54 and 32 hundredths. All right. Let's do a couple more. Oops. Let me fix this real quick. I can't get that to go away. Let me see. There we go. All right. So let's try this one. 5 and 32 hundredths times 10 to the 5th power. So once again, my exponent tells us how many places to move our decimal. It says 5 times. So 1, 2. Uh-oh, Mr. Walker ran out of digits again. That's okay. Keep going and dig some holes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And place your decimal there. And how many holes do we have? We have 3 holes, so we're going to put 3 zeros in those holes. So my answer to 5 32/100 times 10 to the 5th is 532,000. Okay. Let's look at, let's see, get a new problem here. Let's think about if we don't have a decimal in the number. Say we have a whole number, like 23 times 10 to the 2nd. Okay, Mr. Walker, there's no decimal in here. Actually, there is. There's an understood decimal right behind the ones place. As always, here's our ones, and here's our tens. There's always an understood decimal, even when you don't see it. So if I have a whole number, I know that decimal comes right after my ones place. So we're going to look at our exponent. It tells us, hey, we need to move the decimal to the right, 2 times. So I'm going to take it, I'm going to go 1 hole, 2 holes. And I've got to fill those holes with a digit. And that digit's going to be 0. So 23 times 10 to the 2nd is 2,300. Then I'm putting my decimal. I forgot to put my decimal up here, but I'm going to put my decimal down here. Okay. Let's do one more with a whole number. Say I have 83 times 10,000. So what do you notice about this problem? That's right. 10,000 is not in exponential form. But if I want to put it in exponential form to make it easier, I know that 10,000 in exponential form is 10 to the 4th power. I know that because there are 4 zeros. So once again, there's an understood decimal behind the 3 because it's in the ones place. So I've got to move my decimal place 4 places to the right. So I'm going to create 4 holes. 1, 2, 3, 4. And each hole, I've got to add a digit. And not add a digit, place a digit. And those digits are going to be 0. So I know that my product of 83 times 10,000 is 830,000. And I'm going to place my decimal at the end. It is so important to include your decimal. I hope this helps you with your activity for today. You should be putting in an anchor chart that looks similar to what we did on slide 3. And then it might even have arrows for when you multiply, you move to the right. And then it might also include dividing, and you'll move to the left. But we'll talk about that in tomorrow's video. Make it a great day, and I hope this helps you.